G'day everyone, welcome to your memo movement practice for Trimester 2. If we haven't met before, my name is Amy Carmody. I have been a yoga teacher, mobility coach and a personal trainer for 13 years. So it's really nice to have you here and just ensure that you have clearance for movement, kind of yoga, Pilates, strength from your OBGYN and your doctor before you begin. You'll need a chair for today's practice, something to sit on. You could totally sit on your couch. A little pillow. We'll go over now that we've reached Trimester 2. You'll start showing if you have not already. Once you get past that stage where I just remember it just kind of looks like I've eaten a loaf of bread. I liked that feeling where I finally popped. And you know, maybe wrist weights, if you have them, they're really totally not necessary. You can always hold soup cans. We do that a lot on my platform. And maybe a little theraband. This is really great to have little resistance bands throughout your pregnancy, and a ball or a pillow that you can squish. This class is all about keeping, as best as we can, PGP away, which is pelvic girdle pain, which is pain either at the front at your pubic symphysis, which is like a cartilaginous joint at the front where your two pelvic bones, right and left, meet at the front of your pelvis, or it can be experienced at the back at the sacroiliac joint, your SIJ, where the two bones meet and your spine lodges down into. There are fused vertebrae on the back of your pelvis. So I experienced PGP pain at the front of my pubic bone in my first pregnancy, and thankfully with all of the diligent work that I did, it didn't happen in the second, but just know that sometimes it can still show up even if you're doing the best you possibly can. So give yourself a lot of love and grace if you're going through it, and I hope this helps. So let's try and keep that away or as minimal as possible. And we'll do a little bit of a flow that will integrate some core work without now lifting into anything like a sit-up, and ensuring that you're keeping your pressure system as supported as possible as you grow and grow. So sit on a chair, sit on the edge and have your feet comfortably underneath your knees. Take your ball and in between your knees and give it a good old squeeze for me. That is often really therapeutic for those of us with pelvic girdle pain, especially in the anterior, but anything that can help support and recruit your adductors will be really good for your PGP pain. So will keeping your glutes strong and having your TVA support you throughout, which is obviously getting a lot of pressure and stress placed upon it at the moment. And we'll also prioritize our anterior oblique sling, which is also really, really great to rehabilitate once you've had baby, and especially if, like myself, I've had 2 cesareans now. So we need to just keep looking after ourselves as best as we possibly can. So let's keep the ball in between the knees and just pulse in and into the ball for me. And your muscles of called your adductors that go up the inner line of your leg and attach into your groin area and the hip. We really want to try and recruit them. And again, oftentimes if someone's experiencing quite severe PGP pain, it can feel really nice to squeeze a pillow or something between their legs. So let's just continue that. I've got my little wrist weights on for the movement class. And take like a stretchy band or a pair of like Lululemons or whatever yoga tights you might have on, right? Or a big stretchy sock. Take it out in front of you, and as you continue pulsing into the ball, pull the strap towards you, feel your scapulars retract, and push it out in front. But as you push out in front, let's minimize the squeeze of the ball. Just hold it in an isometric squeeze and take yourself into a rotation. Baby still faces straight ahead. It's your thoracic that spins, and back in. Make sure that you're working into the ball. Squeeze, row back, feel that nice scapular retraction. Pull forward, have traction on the band, and rotate to the other side. So again, squeeze into the ball. Retraction row, forward, and spin, which will feel so nice moving the thoracic as your body starts to change, especially in the second trimester. Energy kind of may come back. You may have passed the nausea and the ickiness, maybe. So it can feel nice to kind of tap into that energy you used to know and just get used to this new changing body. All right, let's do one more side A, one more side B. Okay, well done. From there, you can pop the strap to the side. Take the ball now into one hand, opposite fingertips onto the skull. Slightly lean so that there is, 50 to 60% pressure on your obliques, and lift back up. So down and up, down and up. So what's really great is there's ways you can continue training your core strength that doesn't put any more added or excessive pressure on your pressure system, because we want to minimize any doming that may occur and keep diastasis recti as minimal as possible. It's impossible to not have diastasis in pregnancy. Your abdominals will categorically stretch. It's just about minimizing that as much as possible. So we have to be really particular about the choice of work that we do that doesn't increase the pressure. Let's switch to the other side. So this is a nice one to mobilize the spine as you're moving it into lateral flexion. So you're getting a lot of nutrients to your discs via blood flow. Nice to mobilize your thoracic and rib cage. And again, just put that appropriate amount of training on the core, and seated is really a great way to do so. 3, 2, 1. Let's take the ball back in between the knees, but come right up onto your tippy toes. We need to start preparing your body for what is called the hinge. If you've ever done a deadlift or anything that requires you to hinge over like a kettlebell swing or a forward fold in yoga, parent life, all day long, you hinge, you hinge, you hinge. You're picking stuff up off the floor, putting the baby in the cot, taking the baby out of the cot, putting the baby in the car seat, the pram, anything. You are spending so much of your day in a hinge pattern position. So it's really great to start, if we can start training that right now. It's something that I do with my clients as soon as they fall pregnant, is getting you stronger in the hinge. So come right up onto the tips of your toes, keep squeezing into the ball, find that slight hinge forward in your hips, maintaining the natural curves of your spine, so chest open, and elbows nice and wide to get that positional awareness, and maintain that hinge position as you calf raise and maintain pressure into the ball. So 15 heel raises, and this is only a slight hinge position because we're utilizing the chair, but at least we're starting to put that demand on the back core muscles, which is your spinal muscles. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep that hinge, heels up, and 15 times pulse into the ball. Keep your chest open. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. You can stand up, you can place your chair to the side. Later on, with your pillow handy, we will start learning how to safely get up and down off the floor throughout your rest of your pregnancy and your postpartum period as well. So bring yourself into a hands and knees position. Belly drops down on inhale. Push the ground away. Feel free to rock your sitting bones towards your heels as you exhale, twice more like that. So this nice attention on articulating your spine through flexion and extension. If you're getting any discomfort in the low back, that flexed cat back with your pelvis rocking back can feel so nice. Then from here, keep yourself sitting back on your heels and pull your elbows back. Let's add that slight hinge position here, right? So now, biceps by ears will put more pressure on your core. Feel baby lift away from the ground, but maintain your natural curves. As you stand your pelvis over your knees, your head over your pelvic floor, feel that slight lift in the pelvic floor, so utilize your glute strength. Rib cage stays in, and retraction of your scapulars. I'm also preparing your thoracic for postpartum too, with lots of baby carrying and things like that, right? So we'll hinge, biceps by ears, and pull back. Hinge and pull back. So you want to imagine that when we pick baby off the floor and things like that, it's putting pressure on the core. We have to pick a weight up, away from the central axis of the body. So we're just kind of preparing everything that's to come and trying to support all of the anatomical and physiological changes that are occurring throughout the pregnancy as well. 3, 2, and last one. On this last one, standing on your knees, let's step the left foot forward, up to you whether you like to tuck or untuck your back toes, but can we loop that right hip a little bit, keeping the nose over the pubis? Interlace your fingers out in front. You might have your soup cans or your wrist weights, and we're doing a pile-off press, which is again such a great way to train your central axis strength. So you have this nice hugging in sensation through the center. Connecting with your breath. It doesn't necessarily have to match movement and breath, but just ensure that you're breathing comfortably in and out through your nose. Then from here, maintain the pile-off press, and like we did in the seated variation, can we pivot the thoracic? And we have lots of room to still pivot the spine. We just don't want to do really deep twists and close off bub, right? So even if you felt you needed to and you needed more space, if you're growing and you're at that end stage of your pregnancy, you can open the lunge and do your pivots with just a little bit more space, right? You might also be carrying quite low. 3, 2, 1. Walk that foot back in. From here, right fingertips underneath you. Turn your chest, open your chest to the left, and maybe take the left hand to the back of the skull, letting that chest wall open, push the ground away. 2 hands to the top of the mat. Step your right foot underneath you. Keep those feet pelvic distance, and even wider again if you've got a great little bump going on now. And hold the top of your skull. Breathe in, feel your hamstrings firm up, even though we're trying to give them a slight stretch. Take your hands onto your thighs, roll up through your spine. Just take your time if you get a little bit dizzy or lightheaded. And we'll step out into a wide, high squat position. And we'll repeat the pile-off press. So you've got external rotation in your hip joints, fingers interlace at your chest, and 6 times press. Again, you might be having your wrist weights, you might be holding a dumbbell, or you're just using interlaced fingers. 6 times you press out in front, and then feel your pivot to the left and to the left. 3, 2, 1. From here, spin so that you're in a lunge position with your arms reaching back. Similar to what we did before. Your biceps come by your ears, and when you step the right foot in, stay low in the lunge, but pull your elbows back. So it is lunge and pull in. Now, any PGP, you want to make your split stances very minimal and very stable. So it could be ball of the foot back, step in, rather than a lunge and step in. 3, 2, 1, and when you stand up, shake the pelvis. That would have been working your hip really well. Arms reach, fold over your hips again, heel toe your feet a little bit wider should you need. Let your head release, maybe hold the top of your head, breathe in and breathe out. 2 hands to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. Press the ground away, have a little pedal out through your feet there. You can always do this with your 2 knees underneath you supporting you. Okay, so any variation of down dog that works for you. Left leg lifts just to the height of your hip there. Bend your knee and let's circle the hip 3 times. So picture Mr. Squiggle, if you ever used to watch that as a kid. He had a pencil for a nose. Imagine your kneecap is a pencil, circle the other way, and you're drawing nice big circles on a huge canvas. Then from there, your 2 knees lower underneath you, and you'll sit back on your heels. Okay, so let's repeat that sequence to the other side. So slight hinge. As your bump grows, widen your thigh bones to always accommodate and make room for yourself. Okay, so as you lean forward, you want to feel as if you're supporting your lumbar spine by lifting the TVA, aka your baby, away from the ground. Biceps by ears, stand up and pull. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's stay standing and step the right foot forward now. Left glute is nice and firm. Interlace your fingers in front of you. You have 6 Parloff presses. Keeping that integration of your center strength, especially as you push the weight or your hands out in front of you. Pause on the last one, inhale. Exhale is your slight pivot, right? And if, again, you're carrying low and you feel like you're bumping into your thigh bone, just accommodate by opening slightly. Keeping your head over your pelvic floor. Then from here, take your left fingers to the floor and rotate your chest slightly to your knee. Again, if you need it, if you're running your bump into your thigh bone, widen your stance. Right hand behind the back of your skull, let your head lean into your skull. Ah, so nice. 2 hands to the top of the mat. Land in a forward bend that has plenty of space for your belly. Hold your skull, breathe in, and breathe out. Again, if you're still lightheaded like we did in the first trimester, you can push the ground away to stand on up. Take time to acclimatize yourself to standing, and we'll step the left foot to go into our wide goddess position. So again, we'll do our Parloff presses. You could be holding, again, a dumbbell, wrist weights. But just practicing this whole theory of when we hinge and have a weight extended away from the central axis, we still want to be able to support that. 3, 2, 1, and then pivot 6 times, which is good to continue our thoracic mobilization. Hold the next one. We'll pivot so that we're in lunge position, biceps by the ears, and we'll step in and stay low in the plie. And this could be a little ball step back and in, right? Feeling the alignment of your thigh bone with your knee in conjunction with your lower shin and your ankle. So here we are practicing that hinge position again, which you'll be in for the rest of time. 3, 2, and 1. And when you stand up, have a nice little shake. Give your hip a little bit of a tap. Let's progress that flow a little bit before we come down onto the back. So standing with your feet comfortably underneath you. Go a little bit broader if you're starting to grow. Arms reach. Inhale. Hinge from your hips. Make space for the belly. Let's do a halfway lift, chest is open, breathe in. And right foot steps back, lower your knee. 5 times Parloff press. We'll hold and we'll find the rotations. Adjust thigh bone. Even if you turn your foot out, you might feel like you give yourself more space throughout the femoral artery. This time we'll return to here. pull the knuckles in towards the fist, into the chest, sorry, like you're keeping a little secret safe. Come off the back knee, and keeping that there, we'll take right foot in and back, in and back, 5 times. And on that 5th step back, we'll step into the goddess, and we'll do our pivots. We'll hold the pile-off press out, but every time you pivot, come off the right heel, rotate into it, and back down. So pivot and back down, just so that you're doing a little bit of internal rotation through the hip. 3, 2, 1. Back to your goddess and pull your elbows back behind you. And then biceps by ears, back behind you. 4, 3, 2, last one. 1, take your 2 hands to the floor, downward dog. In your downward facing dog, take a full inhale breath. Exhale, empty, left leg lifts to the ceiling. Bend your knee, turn your hip and thigh to the left, keep your ribs facing down, and then try and turn your thigh bone to the right. Let's do that one more time. So turn it to the left, then turn it to the right. Now keep it facing the right, bring it underneath yourself, lay on your left forearm, and with this right fingertip on the skull, you have 10 clams. Minimizing movement, so keep your rib cage lifted up. 3, and that's not 3, is it? Halfway. Counting goes out the window like a typical personal trainer. 3, 2, 1. Keep the knees closed. Take your right forearm in front of the left, and we'll do cat-cow rolling here. So rolling the chest forward and through, forward and through. Again, if belly's growing, just give yourself more space rather than closing yourself off. Just keep your right fingertips next to the left. And we'll shift back to hands and knees. Belly drops, inhale, round your spine. Exhale. Come back to a more neutral spine and walk your knees back. You'll start doing your planks from your knees to support your pressure system, practicing where belly inhale softens, exhale lift baby away from the floor. Hold 3, 2, 1. Tuck your toes, lift into downward facing dog. Where your hands will walk back to your feet, make your feet wider now that you're bringing your belly closer to your legs, and either roll up or press up. Just work with your blood pressure, your dizziness, climatize, and we'll do that on the other side. So arms reach, fold from your hips, give yourself plenty of space, halfway lift, and it's your left leg that steps back. Fingers interlace, pile off press, 4, left glute firm, 3, 2, 1, and we'll rotate again, open and make space should you feel that it's uncomfortable in any way. Then we'll bring the little secret in and find that hinge position that I want you getting really strong in. Come off the back knee. You can either hold the hinge position or you've got your 5-step ball change, and that can be really minimal, right? 2, and then we'll step that out into the goddess. Hold the pile off press, and every time you rotate right, spin left thigh bone in and back to center. Left thigh bone in and back to center. 3. Ooh, legs. 2. Last one, and we'll go hands to the floor. Downward facing dog. Right leg lifts to the sky. Bend your knee, rotate the thigh bone and kneecap to the right, keep your armpits held lifted, and then rotate it to the left. One more time to the right, one more time to the left, then swing that hip underneath you, and we'll do our clams, which feel free to start adding bands in your second trimester. Really trying to challenge and up the foundational strength. Keep your waist lifted. If that ball squeeze work helped on this last one, you can hold that, hold and squeeze, hold and squeeze. So that's a great little one. You can even integrate lifting the outer hip and holding. We'll do a little bit more adductor work at the end. Then bring your fingertips, or if you feel like you've got enough space, forearm, and we'll slide these lateral cat-cows, which feels so nice. So while I have you here, rather than doing another supported plank on the knees, so you can start doing your plank on the knees just to support minimizing diastasis as much as possible. Oftentimes, especially if you have a movement background, say you were a gymnast as a child, just because we can do something doesn't mean we necessarily should. So there got to a point where I could do plank for a certain amount of time, and then it wasn't that I couldn't do it, I felt that my pressure system was being too challenged with the excess of also growing a baby. So there's like a call you can make where you think, it's still possible, but I can probably start to modify so that I'm still challenging my strength, but I'm not exceeding the pressure and causing too much strain. You don't want to go past that point in your core where you think this is feeling like too much demand and expectation, right? So while I have you here, let's now, throughout, practice getting up and off the floor. This will be really also helpful if, like me, you've had 2 cesareans. You want to get down onto the side of your hip, thread yourself to lay down. Same thing when you come back up, is lay on your side and press yourself to come back up. So any movement class, if you go to the gym, Pilates, do practice with me online, just ensure that you're getting up and off the ground safely throughout pregnancy. And if you've had cesareans, come down on your side. Let me teach you a setup. Now that we're not lying flat on our back, you take one block on a medium height. I'm going to use that ball actually. And the other block on a low height. You grab bed pillow, yoga bolster, pregnancy pillow, and you put it down like so. My head will go on this first one, and my shoulder blades will go on this next one, which will mean I'm not lying completely flat on my back, which is fine for a minute or so. You start to feel pretty gross, you can tell. We want to start bringing ourselves onto incline. So let's have that ball or extra little pillow your sacrum goes right up against, and you can just play with that as much as you would like, but that's pretty, I got it spot on first try. So one block is under my thoracic and one block is under my head, but I'm nice and comfortable, and my chest and head is higher than my belly, so I'm not lying flat. I'm going to take that ball again in between my knees and 10 to 15 slow pulses into the ball with my adductors, and just doing a little bit of a pause, hold, and release. Pause, hold, and release. And you can place your hands on the lower belly or right over baby. Give them a nice little rub, little tickle, say g'day. I always used to love pressing in and kind of going knock, 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 and then they do a little knock, knock, knock. Once you've done 10 to 15 pulses, keep your ball and lift into a low bridge. We'll do an isometric hold of 10 to 20 seconds. Maintaining pressure into the ball, taking nice, big, slow, calming breaths. Relaxing your jaw a little bit there. Can we maintain effort in the glutes but not have to tense up really anywhere else in the body, especially the upper body? 4, 3, 2, and when the pelvis does come back down, let the pelvic floor release simultaneously. You can take your ball to the side We did a little bit of internal rotation in three-legged down dog and in our goddess work. Let's hover the left knee over our hip. Spin your hip externally, then rotate your hip internally, so the opposite. Try not to let your pelvis or your waist move. So internal, external, internal, external, keeping the standing thigh bones still and supportive. So just ensuring that we have exceptional hip mobility throughout pregnancy and postpartum, and great pelvic stability too. You can hold the external, do a little bit of an ankle hook, and take some nice deep breaths into that glute stretch, which, if you're experiencing any sciatica, will feel nice to release your external rotators. Just make sure they're not getting too tight. Keep up your outer hip work. Let's release and try this on the other side. So external, internal, external, internal. This is you actively moving your joint through range of motion in rotational capacity, external rotation and internal rotation. Yoga has a strong bias to externally rotating the hips. I'm also a mobility coach, so I will get you internally rotating your hip until your dying day. Hold that a little bit and then flip it back to external and enjoy that little stretch, maybe a little rock. So this is how you can set yourself up for when you need to lie down on your back. If you go into studios or if you practice online, this is your little setup. So whenever you go to practice anywhere, just arm yourself with a bolster and 2 blocks. You can still do core work from here. You just don't lift up off your shoulders, right? So you can kind of join in on the lower limb work, but you stay laying down. I love, when I come to lie down and rest, to have pillow under the knees, which might be nice to start sleeping with that. And block underneath temple, and you can have your top arm resting. It's a nice little setup. Or you can have block underneath your knees, and you can get a pillow or a blanket and have baby. If you're getting to a point now where it feels like you need to support underneath bub laterally on the side, you can spend your time with bub supported by a pillow or a blanket. But I hope that felt nice. I hope some energy is returning to you now in the second trimester. Keep prioritizing your stability work, your hip mobility, figuring out how to train the center strength without adding additional pressure, especially as we grow. So well done on all the all the hinge work and the mobility work, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you really, really soon.